unheard. This is the Morning Express on mainland 98.3 FM.
The Morning Express.
Good morning. You are listening to the Morning Express on mainland 98.3 FM. Good morning.
The airwaves in the market become more and more crowded. It's time to break it open and really feel well. It's here.
98.3 FM.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. The most listened to radio show on the land. The other stations are tuned in too.
Welcome to the Morning Express on mainland 98.3 FM.
Good morning, Lagos. Rise and shine. It is a beautiful Thursday, and you are tuned into mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. We are your go-to sport for everything news, current affairs, and even entertainment. I'm Sage Babalola, and this is Trends in the Papers. I'm thrilled to be here with you as we embark on another journey through today's headlines. It's actually flu season, and a lot of you may start to experience things like fever or fury. We see a high incident, my words out there because my sinus is clogged, but it's okay, it's normal, it happens. So you just basically have to do things to make sure your immune system is not compromised, so you're able to get through the flu season, or start to take medications that would help you. Visit your doctor if the symptoms are too extreme. Anyways, discussing key legislative movements, the implications that they might have on our daily lives, and maybe even cover economic stories that shape our market and are impacting families' ability to cater for themselves, right? So don't worry, we're not going to forget about the lighter side of the news. Maybe sprinkle a little bit of humor to make some of these news items a tad bit. So whether you're on your way to work or you're getting ready for it as well, just download the app or listen outside via the phone. Our in-house analysts and together would attempt to make sense of the report on the front pages of our newspaper. So let's get straight into it. Me, I'm not very, very great. I have the flu this time of the year, and it's so painful. AA that is not even strong. I mean, the whole point of having is your immunity is supposed to be strong if you're AA. Well, every breeze blows on my face and I have a flu. I have the flu. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, it's okay. You should take care of yourself.
Well, I think it's one of the things that comes with the June, the later part of October. You know, it's dry now, so every places are too dirty. Our environment is just too dirty. And sometimes, no matter how clean you are, with your own personal cleanliness, the reality is that you live in an environment where things are clustered. Probably if you're using the public bus, you're sitting down with people who also have one or two things they spread around, and then probably jump on commercial motorcycles, the marijuana, and God knows whether because I've actually used one or two tricycles, and you know that probably almost a month that they made an effort to even clean that thing up. So I think generally we have an issue with our environment when it comes to cleanliness. But again, I think there's also a systemic problem. There's no water. Water is also a challenge for people because no matter how you preach cleanliness and all of that, personal hygiene, water plays an important role on how people are able to do that.
All right.
So where's the water?
Well, the absence of water typically causes diseases like vitamin C. Take a lot of oranges and what have you. It should help you, but there are just some people that have to experience the flu regardless. Anyways, I just thought to open the show that way because I know it's a common thing. At least two people I know also have the flu. So please take care of yourself. It's that season of the year, but it's best to remove yourself from the demographic that are within the risk factors, right? And let's kick off the program. It's Trends in the Papers. Fouad Said is on board, and we're about to begin to review the papers. And let's start like this. For Fuad. We should, of course, send our condolences to the family of the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tʀᴇɪᴅs Iṛ. He was 56. Yes, he was 56. Appointed Chief of Army Staff on the 19th of June 2023 by the President, and the confirmation statement came early yesterday. Bayo Onanuga made the statement. It's quite sad. We have Major General Olufemi Oluyede that was decorated as acting Chief of Army Staff when the news of Tʀᴇɪᴅs Iṛ's illness broke initially, and we can only hope that God grants the family the fortitude to bear the loss. And Fuad, I read comments yesterday on social media, and people were more concerned about the fact that when rumors started that he had died earlier, people say and it was denied. People, why do you have to deny it? And then I saw that a lot of people were trying to educate them that information management is a very critical thing. It's a very sensitive position. Any official announcement was made, but people being people, they just thought, well, tell us what it is immediately, which is I don't know how else to explain to a person who doesn't understand information management.
I don't know why people are so focused on whether he had died before, he just died now, whether there was a delay in the announcement or not. The reality is that Luke is dead, and the death has now been announced. And so what we should be talking about first is to show some form of empathy to the family of the late Chief of Army Staff, because again, at the age of 56, I think he was in that position for just
a few months, just
a little over 500 days or so. He held that position. I've also listened to top military officers. Some of them is classmates. I think it's cost 39 or so in the Nigerian army. I've had a lot of people talk about how, fully involved he was with the fight against insurgency. I've had a lot of people attribute the clearing of bandits on the Abuja-Kaduna highway to his efforts. That used to be a very terrible place to travel on, that particular road. And people have said that, look, if there's one thing you're going to give to him, Lagbaja himself, it has to be what he was able to achieve with the clearing of terrorists and bandits on that particular road. And apart from that, I think he's also said to be a very, very popular, prominent military officer within the military hierarchy. I've seen a video, when he was appointed newly and he was giving some form of morale to other military officers, looking very sharp and smart, at that level, full of life. But, when death comes, it will definitely come. And there will always be something that brings the death. So I think his time has come. He's done his own little bit to nation building. And we can only hope that his family finds the strength to bear this particular loss, which really is very, very unfortunate. What he was able to achieve or what he was not able to achieve is a discussion for another day. I'm reading. So it's not just to now begin to talk about what he did or what he didn't do. The reality is that, look, he's done his own little bit. The glorious call has come and he has answered it. And we just pray for his soul and also for the family at this trying time.
Indeed. Well, again, our heart goes out to the family. We hope that they're able to handle this loss. He's quite young, to be honest. 56 he's young, so it is a loss that would greatly impact the family. Let's show empathy. Let's be kind to each other. It's not the time to start sensitive in our dealings. But all that's it about that. Fuad,
yes.
Trump is 47.
Then
Keenly contested presidential election. The road to victory was a tough one, especially with the unprecedented criminal conviction, the near-miss assassination attempt. It was a lot of factors. Trump is the first president in more than a century to win a non-consecutive second term. He's also the only person to be elected as a convicted felon. His sentencing in New York is November 26th. But then there are already arguments about, can you sentence a sitting president because they automatically have immunity for what? Hello? Oh, I'm sorry, we lost that call. We'll connect back to Fᴜʟ, but then it's interesting times in the United States of America. There's been a lot of reactions to Trump emerging as the 47th president of the United States of America. Kamala Harris had a great run. You cannot deny that, seeing as she only became the Democratic candidate in July following Biden's step down, and she already gave her concession speech. She's 20th. Up until this very moment, he refuses to believe that he lost that election, but Kamala is choosing to take the high road. But then the controversy that have sparked following Trump's emergence is something that is definitely worthy of conversation. Fᴜʟ, do we have you back?
Yes, I'm quite a number of records.
Right.
A lot of records, actually. Or repeated records, depending on what you're looking at. But that's happened, it has happened. A lot of the polls were thrown into the mud. The expectations of the Democratic Party completely dashed, I was on CNN very early this morning, and of course there's a lot that the Democratic Party would have to look at, really. Actually, the future of that particular party, the leadership of that party. Are they going to bounce back from this, whitewash? It was a landslide, say, if you are going to look at the results of the election compared to what people had expected it was going to be. The pundits, what I discovered was that, look, a lot of the pundits were very careful, actually, to stick anything out on this particular election. Very, by congratulating the winner, is considered. I think she's going to be speaking with her supporters at Harvard University, where she graduated from.
Yeah.
Later today, she's going to be doing that. I think Trump and Biden, the team of the Trump campaign, and the presidency will also be meeting, because they are planning a meeting so that at least the transition process as expected can be done seamlessly. But that's just the story of the United States. But for the rest of the world, say, I was listening to Fᴜʟ this morning, and he did a list. He said, look, what does Trump's victory mean for the rest of the world? He said for Europe, they are depressed. And you should know why Europe will be depressed with its victory.
Right.
You stand on the European alliance. Trump actually feels that America is doing too much.
Too much for other countries.
Europe, and that, look, again, whether you like it or not, Russia, the threat of Russia, the Ukraine war, there's still a lot of questions as to what the relationship of Europe, the European bloc, and America would be in this Trump era. His first time as president, was not the best of relationships. See, it was never the best of relationships. And now that it's coming back, people are thinking that, look, it may become a more frosty, more problematic relationship, and it's going to undermine a lot of what the European bloc stands for when it comes to the economic interest as well as political interest. So Said feels that, look, with Trump now as president-elect and number 47 eventually, Europe is depressed. They are not even sure of anything. He feels that the Gulf-rich nations of Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, actually elected. He feels that, look, you have a very good relationship with the oil-rich nations of the Gulf states. Even though he will tell you that the Middle East is somewhat an axis of trouble. But again, when it comes to Trump is a businessman, so he likes money. So if you are a nation that has money, it's ready to have a very good relationship with you. Remember, it's first following the money. It's looking at the money that's coming from oil. He said Africa is lost. Africa has no stake, really. Everywhere the West is, we are not really a stakeholder in this game. And he doesn't think Trump was going to give us any serious reckoning as a continent. You understand?
Yeah.
So he feels that Ukraine is concerned. Ukraine does not know what's going to come. Because again, when it comes to that, look, I'm going to end the war. In fact, what he keeps saying is that, look, before he's sworn in as president, he has the capacity to end the war.
What?
So what pundits are saying? Are you with me? Saying?
Yes, because he says that one of the ways to solve the war is for Kiev to concede some parts of their territory. That's what he's saying. That's his solution.
No, what people are saying is this. If you say you can end the war, you can come up with a form of deal. He's a deal man. He's always talking about deals. And so what people are saying is that, look, if you end this war
Right.
That's not a concession. That's not peace. Sorry,
that's an occupation.
It's an occupation and it's a surrender.
Right.
So if Trump ends the war by Ukraine conceding a part of their land to Russia, it's practically a piece of the graveyard. It's not anything peace, actually. It's more like them surrendering to Russia. And whether we like it or not, it means it will further embolden Russia to go on and win now. It's not a lot of promises. So people are waiting on him to say, okay, how do you end this war? What are you going to do? If you end the war by pulling out of...
Hello? Hello? Oh, my apologies for this interruption. Please do forgive us. This is Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. Apologies, it might seem like we're too carried away with what's going on in America, but it is a significant conversation because different demographics are affected by who becomes the president of America. It's Trump, and we're just trying to make sense of what to expect across different parts of the nation and his ideas regarding solving certain global issues. We'd have Fuad round off on that thought so we can start reviewing our dailies. Fuad. And that happens again. All right, then let's just start talking about the reports we have on the front pages of our dailies. We have the Punch, we have Guardian newspaper, we also have Vanguard. We'll start reading from the front page of the Punch newspaper. The top story being, "We are starved, locked up with criminals," says minors. These are the minors that were tried in courts in Abuja, picked up during the End Bad Governance protest across different states in northern Nigeria across the board. Well, the report. Okay, I think we have Fred back now. Yes, Fred, would you be kind enough to round off your thoughts so we can get into the paper?
So it's not really about the Trump presidency. What's to come? The global outlook is looking unsure. Nobody's sure about anything really for now, other than the fact that it's made some promises. Said a lot of things. Has different nations of the world, different continents, looking at what's going to come from the presidency of Mr. Trump. Like I was also saying this morning, that role that America has played just after the Second World War, 1947-1948, of being the leader of the free world, pushing that democratic ideals all over the world, the leader of the free world. Does Trump understanding the American implications? Does he understand the role America plays in the world as a somewhat power? So a lot will come from this Trump presidency, and I think I'm excited actually, to see what comes out of this presidency of Mr. Trump.
All right then. Well, we probably will start to see churning out of policies in a few months. Trump actually gets straight to business. If you followed his role when he was president before his impeachment, right?
For example,
yeah.
I do think Trump would end the Israeli-Gaza war, Palestinian war.
I have no idea. I'm not excited for his. It's probably going to be ruthless.
What he keeps saying is that the Israelis have to complete the job. What job do we want them to complete?
Continue eradicating and bombing innocent civilians.
So you can see that, and I'm surprised to say it, because again, people have done a lot of analysis of where his votes came from. The Latino voters, the Hispanics, especially the Latino voters, actually voted for him.
Which is ridiculous.
It was shocking, actually. You say ridiculous, I think it's shocking.
Fred, if we continue this conversation, we would not talk about national issues, because I did see that.
We'll do it on Sunday.
Yes.
Ambassador Curtis will be joining us. So,
yes.
I'm sure we're going to have an extensive conversation on
of
this.
Of course. If you see the tally of the people who voted for Trump, you would be in absolute shock. You are about to be a victim of mass deportation, and you are Never mind. Let's start with the Punch newspaper. I already started reading the headline when we disconnected from you a while ago. The headline, "We were starved, locked up with criminals," says minors. The writer to that, "Police deny maltreatment as released protesters narrate a 3-month ordeal behind bars." Now, after being granted reprieve by President Bola Tinubu on Monday, several minors aged 14 and 17 who were arrested during the Here we go. During the August and Bad Governance nationwide protest against hardship in the country have shared their harrowing experience while in custody with the Punch. On Friday, 76 suspects, including 32 minors who were arrested during the protest, were arraigned by the Inspector General of Police on 10 counts bordering on treason, intent to destabilize Nigeria, and inciting to mutiny by calling on the military to take over the government from President Tinubu, among others. I'm going to move to the part of the story that narrates the audio of the minors because of our time. Now, yes, now those from Kano have been kept at the Muhammadu Buhari Specialist Hospital, where they're being checked and treated by a team of medical personnel. Now, some of them who spoke to the Punch at the hospital said that they saw hell, and this is me quoting one Umar Ali, who is 15 years old. He says, and I quote, "We saw hell, we suffered a lot. Sometimes we stayed for 3 days without food, and even when we were given food, it was always not enough." Ali denied involvement in the protest, saying he was arrested on his way to the market at Kwamahudu in Ungogo local government area of the state. We also have another one of these young boys who said, "We hardly saw sunlight in the place where we were kept. Hence the reason why some of us were unable to see properly when we were brought to the court." Another minor, Ibrahim Aliyu Musa, who was transferred from Kano to Abuja a day after his arrest, said he and others were kept in the same place with hardened criminals. He says, and I quote, "I was among those that were kept in the same place with hardened criminals, and we sometimes spent days without any food. The food was hardly anything to write home about. They were inadequate and they were tasteless. They served us beans in the morning, rice at lunch, gabza for dinner, and because of our large quantity, the gabza was just to keep our soul and body moving." And the 13-year, it just goes on and on and on, narrating the experiences of these young boys. Now, the police have, of course, come out to deny these allegations. They deny that they put these young boys with hardened criminal. They deny any form of human rights violation whatsoever. So, who to believe? The victims of these experiences or the police force that claim they were treated adequately? The evidence on ground, what exactly does it point to, Fred?
See, those minors you saw in court, who would you believe between those young children and the police? The way you saw those children in court,
they did look extremely
famished, drained, hungry, looking very dirty. God knows where they have kept them. And this idea of trying to deny everything and anything does not even make any sense. Because the first step to solving the problem, see, is to first agree that there's a problem somewhere. Or that you misbehaved at a particular time. So that admittance of, oh, there's a problem, yes, we heard, there's an issue, makes it easy for you to even correct yourself going forward. And so the police coming to say, the police PRO, in recent time, again, a lot of questions about his capacity when it comes to information management, his PR and his understanding of public relations as the spokesperson of the Nigerian police. So a lot of issues, really. Both academic and professional. We are going to delve into what he has been able to do so far. But I don't want to go on that direction. Because again, if I don't even compare what the police in Lagos is doing compared to the national, you understand what I'm saying? That look, there's quite a lot of questions really when it comes to professionalism, and even when it's supposed to be a simple academic exercise when it comes to public relations. But that's not the conversation this morning. The issue is this. There's a problem really that the fact that the police even kept them for 3 months. You understand? Where did they keep them? Look, if you're going to debunk this allegation, see, what is the easiest thing to do? Take the press to where you kept this boy, the conditions of the place. This is the room, these were the beds, these were the conditions in which they were kept. I'm aware that the police cannot be correct in this matter. The way those boys appeared in court. So that's why we're saying that it's not about, they believe them, the president has told them to go back. No. We have a serious problem with our justice system. See, the entire chain, from how cases are investigated, to how people are arrested, to even how people are questioned in our different police stations, interrogation processes. I think there's even a law, and I think the AGF is pushing now, that accession to the police when it comes to statements and all of those kind of things should not be recorded, should not be on video. So from the process of how cases are investigated, to how people are arrested, to how people are detained, to even the cases the police does themselves in one day. most of the time, some of the cases you see the police getting themselves involved with, I even think that does not even concern them. You know, you're saving your life, or I will arrest you. We feel that some people still believe that the police can be used, you know, to punish people. I will arrest you, that's your money. You know, we still run that kind of mentality.
Yes.
I might see your money because you're a police officer. They just drop on cases against you, they detain you. So we need to ask ourselves, how do we get better with our systems? How do we get better with our institutions? Training, education, exposure, and then even the corruption in the system. So it is not really when it comes to our police do their job. And I think on this case of this minor, it has further exposed the limitations of our police officers when it comes to handling matters like this. But again, are we going to fix the problem? Are we going to talk about it and move on?
Well, moving on, in Kaduna State, for example, the released minors have been given 100,000 naira each. They've been given smartphones, and those of them that would like to further their education to tertiary institution, the governor has promised that he will take care of their education, more like compensation for the inhumane treatment that was allegedly meted out on these young children. Now, it will surprise you that despite the president's directive, we still have minors in Borno State that are still in detention. They were accused of joining social media platforms where they were discussing taking up arms in the state. So in Borno State, they have not enacted the president's directive. The minors are still in detention, although the source at the juvenile correctional facility refused to be named. But they're telling us that in Borno State, minors have not been released. They're still in detention. I don't know.
I'm sure the AGF will see to that because it's in the news, and I'm sure there's no way we would have missed that part of the conversation, public discourse. So one would expect we need to ensure that it's not just a duty for those that are represented in Abuja. Any other state that has these minors detained, that presidential directive should be implemented immediately and get them released, as it were. But for states that are giving people 100,000 and buying smartphones for them, it's just cosmetic. These are also part of the problem because these children would not have been on the streets in the first place if there was enough economic empowerment for their parents and even for the children too. So the question is, education for our children. How far? What our level of commitment to ensuring that because again, you need to ask yourself, what was the condition of these kids before they even went into the street to start with? The number of out-of-school children, the level of poverty in the land. So everything comes back to the level of misgovernance we have in the country. If you understand what I'm saying. So while we are dealing with the behavior of the police and how they are handling this case, starting with the minor situation, we also need to ask our political class, can't you see that this is also part of the problem we have created? The corruption, the stealing of people's resources, how you have deprived people's quality, education, healthcare, empowerment of parents. So it's a holistic issue here. It's a big problem that goes beyond what the police have just done. We also have to look at the root cause of why some of these children are in the streets in the first place. And then the issue of hunger in the land. Who is addressing it?
Well, this particular story is on page 6 of the Punch newspaper. Moving further, we have consumers protest as discos hike meter price by 28%. Power distribution companies in Nigeria have announced an increase in the price for various electricity meter models, marking the second price hike in 4 months. Power consumers have kicked against the development, describing it as wicked, considering the economic hardship nationwide. According to the discos, the cost of a single-phase meter has risen from approximately 117,000 naira to as much as 149,800 naira, and this amount indicates an increase of 28.03% or 32,800 depending on the distribution company and the meter vendor. For a few months ago, we caught wind of information that a certain type of meter would be phased out to bring in a new model, and a deadline of November was given to meter users, which sparked a lot of controversy. And now the price of the meter has gone up by over 32,000 naira, and of course Nigerians are unhappy about this development.
Who is protecting other Nigerians now? Do we have people who are even paying attention to these things? Is there anybody speaking for non-Nigerians? Where are the people now standing? Especially when I say people we've elected to defend the interests of other Nigerians. Have you seen any commitment to protecting the rights, the well-being of ordinary Nigerians. Everyone is quiet. Especially in that National Assembly. It's just, everybody is just quiet. Whether the Labour Party or everything, they're just there. Because at the end of the day, we're still talking about continuous hardship. People have bought prepaid meters, you said they were upgrading, and then that some new set of meters will be costing, and now while we're still discussing that now, they're getting announcements that prices of prepaid meters are going up, everything keeps going up. Everything keeps going up. Even the things that you expect that there should be some form of concession and understanding for the people, especially with what we are going through now, nobody cares. It's now, it's another free market economic principle. In free market.
Well, it's in line with the total deregulation of the
everybody can do anything they like. That's the way they want.
I'm telling you.
Free market economy is all about.
I'm telling you.
So they deregulated the prepaid market too.
That's the justification that have been provided by the power regulators. That's what I'm telling you. That's what they said, that the increase is in line with the deregulation of that sector.
So the regulation is about just increasing prices.
Well,
and putting people to hardship and suffering. That's what the regulation is about. Right? In Nigeria. So nobody protects anybody again. Where are the consumer protection so-called agencies? Where is NEC in this matter now? The Nigerian Regulatory Commission, which is supposed to even protect the interest of our consumers. So everybody is quiet. And they are happy with what is going on.
It's page 32 of the Punch newspaper. If there would be a policy review, I will let you know. I know it's very doubtful that there will be one because it has been announced, but there might be a slight downward review.
You know when Nigeria will take it or leave it. Nobody cares. You should complain from now till tomorrow. What is done is done. I think in that era,
well,
take it or leave it. When it's done, it's done. If you complain from now till tomorrow, nobody cares. Nobody even listens to you to start with.
Page 32 of the Punch. Moving to other stories, marketers battle Dangote in court, insist on petrol import. Three oil marketers, AYM Shafa Limited, AA Rano Limited, and Matrix Petroleum Services Limited, have asked the Federal High Court in Abuja to dismiss a suit filed by Dangote Petroleum Refineries and Petrochemicals and the marketers in a joint counter affidavit in response to an ongoing originating summons filed by Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals, argued that granting the application of refinery would spell doom for the country's oil sector. They emphasized that the plan to monopolize the oil sector is a recipe for disaster in the country. And Dangote's refinery, in his originating summons, had sued Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority and the NNPCL, including the three other marketers as first to 7 defendants respectively, and the refinery prayed the court to declare that the NMDPRA was in violation of section 317 subsection 8 and 9 of the Petroleum Industry Act PIA by issuing licenses for the importation of petroleum products. I'm doing the best I can to maximize the time we have left, so allow me the opportunity to summarize this entire story to you. Dangote did take the NNPCL, NMDPRA to court, especially the NMDPRA, and his argument is you shouldn't be granting importation licenses to marketers because the PIA in a section clearly states that the only time that import licenses should be granted is when there is a supply shortfall. Now Dangote is telling us that he has around 500 million liters of PMS in store. They have a capacity of about 25 million barrels. That's 25 million liters, I beg your pardon. That's 250 million barrels is what they are working on. But so far, they have the capacity to do 25 million liters per day. And Nigeria's current consumption, at least in the last conference that we participated in when the oil sector came together, we're being told that Nigeria's current consumption is 40 to 60 million liters per day. And Dangote say he has the capacity to do at least 25 to 35. And he has 5 million liters in store. So that means that 500 million liters in store. So that means he can still take care of our needs while production continues. And so the NMDPRA granting licenses for importation is a deviation from the provisions of the PIA. If I can take care of domestic needs, why do you want people to import? But of course, the argument is we cannot allow you to be the one to determine what goes on in the oil sector. You cannot monopolize, and so we must import to ensure that we're able to compete with you.
Sage, we've had an extensive discussion on this matter, and nobody is saying we should encourage a Dangote monopoly. No, I don't think anybody would even encourage that, because we know the dangers that comes with any form of monopoly of the sector, especially when it comes to production of petroleum products. And I'm surprised that these marketers who have complained bitterly, Sage, of having problems accessing forex to be able to bring in products, suddenly now have the power, the willingness, the strength, the capacity, to source forex from anywhere in the world, whether locally or internationally, to bring in refined petroleum products. See, preaching continuous importation of refined petroleum products as against the reasonable commonsensical economic policy of protectionism for local industry, like a Dangote refinery. So we are getting to the point where these guys know what they are doing. For years, Sage, we have always asked the question, who are these cabals in the oil sector? We are not going to name anybody. But if your brain is working, from what we have been able to do in the last 1 year, that this whole Dangote refinery thing started, you should have been able to put pen to paper to know the real enemies of the nation when we talk about the cabals in the oil sector. It's not no analyst to come and tell you that, but you should have been able to open your brain from when we've been discussing this matter to know the real enemies of the country when it comes to the Nigerian oil sector. The so-called cabals we've been talking about for decades. Some of them are in the regulatory system. Some of them are the people in charge. Some of them are the so-called people that call themselves marketers. Some of them, we are already seeing, they can't even hide themselves against it. As it is. Because, people will tell you want to be a monopoly. It's just infantile. It doesn't make any sense. Because, how did we get to the point of even encouraging Dangote to build a refinery? See, what program was the building of Dangote refinery supposed to solve for us? What was the plan when we were giving foreign exchange support, giving all the legal support? All the politicians that carried their dagger to Dangote refinery to celebrate that achievement, where are they today? To stand and say, no, you guys cannot kill this refinery. We have always said about the issue of fair pricing. That's a conversation we can put on the table. Luckily, we have the price control agencies that can do that. We have regulatory agencies that can look into it. There's the presidential tax force too that can look into it. How much are we selling crude to it? Bring your cost of production. Let's put it together so that we can know whether the price you are selling to us is fair or not. But for us to have people in Nigeria, who are still insisting, after we've been able to build some kind of capacity to refine our petroleum products locally, so if we still have Nigerians, whether they're NNPC, NDPRA, or they pretend to be marketers, who are still propagating and pushing the idea that we will continue to import petroleum products into the country, those are the enemies of the country. Because whether we like it or not, there's a story I think in the Guardian that despite all of the monetary policy efforts of the CBN, the naira is still very volatile.
Very, very.
It's still only one thing. These guys who are reporting, I think not aware that they are also going to be putting pressure on the scarce foreign exchange that we have in the country. So, at the end of the day, what is the role of the government? Our ministers of petroleum and all, what are we doing? What are we doing to ensure that now that we have at least some kind of local capacity to refine petroleum products to meet our ability? That's what I was told you, say. I can do daily 30 million. And the way I now know that. So, at the end of the day, if people are looking for giving information, they have been coming out. Small. I'm not even relating to this story. I'm just saying that, by now you should have known the enemies of the country. Especially when it comes to the so-called at the desk of the president. That is where it ends.
We're hoping that the the court judges the matter in a way that is beneficial to the.
Dangote had responded. When this news came, I took some people to court. That the intervention of the president had overtaken that particular decision to go to court, and that the intervention of the president, eventually solves the problem. The reality is that look, we now know the enemies of the nation.
Well, this particular story is on page 31 of the Punch newspaper. I would have to segue to the Guardian newspaper now, as we are running out of time. Every other headline here we had addressed at the start of the show. But before we leave the Punch newspaper, the final story here, Lagos-Calabar Highway compensation offer. Describing it, who says, and I quote, "My property was valued at over 400 million. Both the land and the development." And here's to $1 million naira, and so they are rejecting the of way. Don't even necessarily have to or government or national constraints not specify how much specifically or how to calculate the amount of compensation to give to an individual considering the cost of their property.
Well, there is Vice Bakari. And he gave different explanations, but I think we both also agreed eventually that look, the law is not exact. Should be compensated. What should amount to what? But the question is, what is reasonable? What should be the reasonable level of compensation when something like this happens? If a man is telling you that look, my property was valued at over 400 million, and they're giving me 3.3 million, is it for the roof or for the what or the windows? But at the end of the day, like you said, the law is not exact on how people should be compensated. But I don't know whether property owners on this Lagos-Calabar Highway can test this particular compensation issue in court. I think there have been one or two precedents in the past. I don't have the exact information whether it can be tested in court. But the most problematic part of this road construction is that look, there were people who avoided the initial gazetted right of way and bought properties that have been declared safe zones. As far as because this is not a new project to say.
Yes.
It's been there for years. So there were people who did their search, they did their check, and they said that okay, they said we should not buy from this area, this is where the road will pass. And they avoided it and went to do the ones that were considered safe for them to buy. They bought their properties, did all the necessary documents with the state government, and then suddenly, the realignment of that road away from the initial gazetted plan is what is now affecting those people. And that's what they're clear is that look, if you were not being punished for the inconsistencies of government, you told us that this was where the road will pass. Suddenly, because you didn't do your due diligence, the whole thing was done in a hurry, and maybe to protect some interests that we have not been able to identify till now. You are not telling us that those are projects where we are supposed to be where the road will pass, and now to lose our property because of the inconsistencies. They didn't have anything.
He doesn't speak English. Didn't you survey the land?
Sorry?
Didn't they survey the land?
That's what the environmental impact assessment report would have done. And there's no way you are not going to such a kind of mega project. The first document you'll be thinking about is the Iran report. So from there what you have known that there were telecommunication cables in that area. So that they didn't do anything. If you like to rationalize it from that to tomorrow, the reality that there's a problem in the process that this road was implemented. The construction of this road was implemented. And now look at the way people have been putting it was really something.
Right, fine. We need to move to other stories because we have less than 3 minutes. That's on page 22 of the Punch newspaper. It's trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM. The Guardian tells us here, federal government blames frequent grid collapse on discos, inability to offtake electricity. And we have Minister Obit as investigative panel submits report. Nigeria suffering outages despite not generating 10% of South Africa's electricity, as says Obi. Well, basically, the National Orientation Agency has attributed the frequent collapse of the national grid to the inability of the electricity distribution companies, DISCOs, to take power generated by the generation companies, GENCOs, for 10 times in 2024. And now the blame has been dropped on the laps of the DISCOs.
You see, I think one of the papers said the blame should go to the transmission companies.
Yeah.
Because when we generate, it's like
it has to move through the TCN. The TCN sometimes return power for inability to
So I'm saying that some of the reports have said that the problem is that we have obsolete equipment, outdated old equipment that we've not been able to maintain some of the lines and all that. So because of that, when we generate and they drop it on their end, they just collapse. extent that sometimes even when the CCN is able to even carry the load, that when you are passing a load from one point to the end before it comes to the end user. So if they generate the drop it on CCN, sometimes CCN collapse. But when we are able to gather enough strength to even pass it, when we now drop it on disco, it's not the only thing that disco will go carry your load and don't fit collect it. It's too heavy. So you see that there's a problem. So the entire power center value chain, I think the only one that's able to at least get to the point where we can say, okay, things are happening, is the JENCO, the generation level. What are we even generating? See, to start with.
Around 3,000 to 4,000. There's been it's like
if 4,000, 5,000 is what you are generating, and Cisco cannot carry, and when they even struggle to carry, the other people that are supposed to collect it from them to now give it to the people, they know we are not the carrier. So you see that we're just wasting our time with this.
The ridiculous thing is that we actually have the capacity for 13 to 18,000. And yes, and if we're getting 4,000 and we're already collapsing, I wonder if we actually do. Well, it's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. I'll read the rest of the headlines. We have here, federal government calls for peace over Abia-Akwa Ibom border dispute. Oh yeah, I saw the story yesterday. And the death toll is very alarming. This territory, this war of territory that has been going on for years, and people keep dying. I think the federal government needs to do something. A diplomatic solution has to be put in place. It's on page 7
of that should step into things like this. We have the National Boundary Commission that should go into boundaries and solve problems like this. You shouldn't have people kill yourself because of one boundary or no boundary issue.
Border. So on page 7, we have Oyo OK's 80,000 naira minimum wage for workers. Wow.
Congratulations to them in Oyo State.
I'm from Oyo State too. Flood sacks rivers and number is on page 4. Bye-bye.
Well, I would doing 85 in Lagos. I think it's 85.
Even though your mic is turned off now. Thank you for your time. We actually are out of time. We'll be back in 10 minutes for Mainland Focus. It's Open Mic Thursday. Don't touch that dial. The conversation still continues. It is Mainland 98.3 FM. I'm Sage Babalola.